Good evening, this is Luke Thomas, QuakePrediction.com here at the Earthquake Channel. It is 10:17 in the evening on Sunday, January 10th, 2021. And we're going to go straight over to the earthquakes that have happened during the last 24 hours. And you can see over here, there's 48 earthquakes in the last 24 hours. And we are going to zoom in on the regions that we forecast for, starting with Chile. And we have 3 earthquakes here in Chile, 4.9 up here in the north, and 4.7 just across the border, northwest Argentina, and 1 here southwest of Santiago. The 2 up here in the north occurred in our 90 and 85% risk area, and the 1 in the south here was in the 65% risk area. Very quiet in the Central America in the last 24 hours, and relatively quiet across San Francisco and Nevada, and quiet as far as no 4.0 larger in Alaska. Alaska, we had a 4.5 here southeast of Sendai and east of Fukushima, and that was in the 80% risk area in our forecast. Northeast of Taipei, Taiwan, we had a 4.9, and that was right here in the map, and that was low risk area. This quake north of this lake right here, Tuzgolu, I believe it is here, northeast of Ankara, Turkey. That we were talking about this risk building in for that one day, and this quake, here's the lake right here, and it occurred right up there in the 50% risk area. And then that risk dissipated after that quake. So we're going to go back to the forecasts across the world. We're going to start with California. And right now the risk is across the far northwest in Crescent City and Eureka in that area, the 10th into the 11th. And this quake should happen within the next 12 to 24 hours. We should get a about 3.0 to 4.0 in Northwest California around Ukiah, Petrolia, Eureka, north of, maybe even the geysers, north of San Francisco during the next 12 to 24 hours. That's where the 85% risk is there. And then look at this one, 12th and the 13th. Looks like we have a possibility of a 4.0 to 4.5 in southeast Nevada, or maybe over here in southeast California. So either southeast Nevada or southeast California. A 4.0 to 4.5 is possible on the 12th into the 13th. So let's look at the Alaska forecast. And this is the forecast right now. So Kodiak Island, we have a 60% risk in that area. And that builds into the 11th and 12th. We could get a 4.0 to 4.5 from Kodiak Island over to Moresby Island. And here's Juneau over here on this area here, but most likely in Kodiak Island over to Moresby Island, something 4.0 to 4.5. And on the 12th and the 13th, the risk moves into Juneau and Ketchikan, right across here in this area. The 12th and the 13th, when a 4.0 is possible in that area. January 12th or 13th. Okay, we're going back to Chile, the Chile forecast here, and this risk begins to diminish down to 75%, the 10th into the 11th, 70% on the 11th and the 12th, and then 70% on the 12th and 13th. However, you can see down here in the south, near Santiago, Chile, the risk is beginning to build, 70% down there. Okay, we're going over to Italia, and the risk is beginning to build across to Pescara, Italy, and east central Italy. And we could see a 4.5 to 5.5 in east central Italy. We had the risk here a few days ago, and it didn't break. The quake didn't break that area, didn't trigger that area. So now we have the 95% risk in Pescara or east central Italy during the next 24 hours. And then you can see that risk remains on the 11th and the 12th, right in that same area, East Central Italy. And then the risk moves more into kind of North Central Italy, still pretty high across the Central Italy on the 12th into the 13th. And Japan's earthquake risk. Most of the risk is in the northeast near Iwate, Aomori, and Akita, even down to Sendai. On the 11th and the 12th, actually right now, I believe it is in the afternoon of the 11th. So right now, this is more valid forecast here from Sendai to Fukushima, Ibaraki. This area could get a 4.0 to 5.0, maybe even larger offshore. And then on the 12th into the 13th, same region from Fukushima, Ibaraki down to Chiba, Tokyo, maybe a 4.0 to 5.0 earthquake on the 12th and the 13th. The Philippines, pretty quiet across the Philippines. The 10th and the 11th, way up here in the northwest. 11th and 12th, pretty quiet here in East Central Philippines. And then on the 12th and the 13th, 40% risk in West Central Philippines. So pretty quiet across the Philippines during the next 24 hours. Greece, the risk is up near Albania. On the 11th into the 12th, the risk is pretty high in northern Albania there. 4.0 is possible in that area, maybe larger. And then the 12th and 13th, still across Albania. And otherwise, Greece is pretty quiet except for West Central Greece and Northwest and North Greece on the 11th and the 12th. Central America, right? We have a risk still remaining in Honduras over to East Central Guatemala. The 10th and the 11th, that risk is in southern Mexico. And the 11th and 12th and 12th and the 13th, the risk is in eastern Panama and northwest Colombia, western Colombia. Same thing on the 12th, 13th, eastern Panama and western Colombia. All right, the Ecuador and Peruvian forecast. The 10th and the 11th, still looking for a significant earthquake, 5.5 maybe up in northwest Peru or southwest Ecuador, 10th and the 11th. And the 11th and the 12th, still pretty high risk in northwest Peru. And then the 12th and the 13th, 95% here in south central Colombia into far north central Peru here. Northern Peru is the high risk area. All right, Indonesia. Right over in Indonesia right now, it is in the 11th. So we're going to go over to this map here. Moderately high risk in the north of Sumatra. 11th and 12th, about 50 to 55% in the North Sumatra. And then here on the 12th and 13th, we could get a 5.0 in southern Sumatra on the 12th or 13th, down here in the 85% risk area. And Taiwan's forecast. High risk across the northern part of the Ryukyu Islands on the 10th into the 11th. And that begins to diminish the 11th into the 12th. And the 12th and the 13th, high risk again in the northern Ryukyu Islands. Taiwan remains relatively quiet for the next 24 hours. And the Caribbean forecast, we're actually moving toward the 11th. So this risk still remains here though for the 10th. Northern Leeward Islands, Northeast Leeward Islands. Still a possible 4.5 is possible there. And then the risk on the 11th and the 12th north of Puerto Rico and the northern British Virgin Islands there could get a 4.0, and then quieter on the 12th into the 13th. Seattle, Washington, looking for something very soon in northwest of Seattle and southeast Vancouver Island. We could get a 4.5 to 5.5 in northwest Washington state, northwest of Seattle on the 10th and into the 11th. So during the next 12 to 24 hours. So watch for that. There's a warning right now, 4.5 to 5.5 is possible northwest of Seattle during the next 24 hours. And then it quiets down there. Turkey, Cyprus, and Syria and Iraq. So this risk on the 10th into the 11th is mostly across Iraq here. 11th and 12th, mostly in Iraq, 80%. 12th and the 13th, still over 80% over in the country of Iraq. And the Hawaiian forecast is pretty quiet. Moderately high in the south on the, well, that's an older forecast there. So this is more up to date here. This is a 75% risk in central and central Hawaii right here. 3.5 to 4.5 is possible in that area. And then that risk dissipates or diminishes on the 12th and the 13th. New Zealand, it is in the 11th right now. So southern New Zealand could get a 4.5 down here in the 90% risk area. And on the 11th into the 12th, something more significant in this 90% risk area in northwest New Zealand and also down here in southwest New Zealand, we could get a 4.5 or larger in either of those areas. 12th and the 13th, that moves offshore, and this dissipates or becomes less on the 12th and the 13th. So something significant could happen in the northwest portion of New Zealand on the 11th and 12th, and the southwest on the 11th and 12th as well. All right, Los Angeles, we're going back to Los Angeles again one more time. Pretty quiet across the state of California and Nevada. And then on the 11th and 12th, something in the northwest, maybe near Ukiah, maybe 3.5 to 4.0 is possible in the 11th and the 12th. And then the 12th and the 13th, southeast California or southeast Nevada, we could get a 4.0 to 5.0 in that area on the 12th and 13th. All right. Again, this is Luke Thomas, QuakePrediction.com here at the Earthquake Channel. It is January 10th, 2021 on Sunday. We're going to be talking again tomorrow night, Monday night on January 11th. And please stay safe and God bless America. And we'll talk to you very soon. We will see you again on Monday night and we'll give you an update on that situation in Northwest Washington. Watch for a significant quake up there. And stay safe, everybody. And we will talk to you very soon. Thank you. And please subscribe to our channel. Really appreciate those who have done that. And or at Twitter or Facebook. Keeps us working here every day. Thank you so much.